Thank you for tuning in to the only station that gives you double the information and inspiration, WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte. This is Marriage Matters, and I'm your host, Patrice Bush, the marriage coach. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. for tips and advice on all matters of marriage. Be sure to like us on Facebook by searching for Marriage Matters /WGIV so that you can stay abreast of topics, ask questions, or comment during our interactive segment of Marriage Matters. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.itttakes2marriagecoaching.com for more information on our services. Our show sponsor for the day is Shoe Flies. Shoe Flies is a shoe accessory that makes tying your shoes a quick and easy process. But did you know that there are thousands of families who are unable to afford shoes for their students this upcoming school year? The purchase of new shoes is one of the single most expensive back-to-school items. Shoe Flies is partnering with It Takes Two Marriage Coaching, IMAC Design and Stone Fabrication, and the law offices of Victor H. Wyatt in a back-to-school shoe drive to make a difference for low-income families for the new school year, which is why we want you to place your lightly used or brand new shoes in the hands of children who need them this year. Find out more of how you could get involved by visiting their website at shoeflies.com. That's www.shoefliez.com. Not tying your shoes will never look so good. Stay so tight and be so easy. Today we are going to finish up our topic from last week. Don't destroy your own marriage. The 10 things that you want to avoid to have a happy marriage. Last week we were talking about how everything around us negates marriage. All of our favorite shows, from Scandal to Being Mary Jane to all of the variations of The Housewives, just about every song that comes on the radio is, negating marriage. It's encouraging us to consider relationships based solely on sex and physical appearance. It encourages a lot of us to cheat and to have non-monogamous relationships. I think I even heard a song the other day that says, "My girl got a girlfriend." There are enough influences around us that is negating marriage. So we don't need to add to the defamation of marriage, especially not the defamation of our own marriage. So as a reminder, here are the 10 things that we want to avoid if we want to have a happy marriage. 1, not communicating or shutting down. Number 2, avoiding sex. Number 3, seeing red over the green or becoming angry over money. Number 4, allowing your family or your friends to be involved in your marriage. Number 5, not fighting fair. Number 6, becoming too busy to have fun. Number 7, infidelity. And number 8, holding grudges. Number 9, keeping secrets. And lastly, number 10, not setting boundaries. We got through 6 of those topics last week, and this week we're going to be tackling the last 4. So when we come back, you'll be tuning in to the last 4 things that you need to avoid to have a happy marriage. You're listening to Marriage Matters, and I'm your host, the marriage coach. You've tuned in to WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte.
Someone's gotta take the lead tonight. Who's it gonna be?
Welcome back to WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte, and those streaming live through the free TuneIn Radio app. You're listening to Marriage Matters, and I'm your host, the Marriage Coach. If you're just tuning in, we're discussing the topic of don't destroy your marriage, 10 things to avoid if you want a happy marriage. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday at 7:30 for tips and advice on all matters of marriage. Be sure to like our Facebook page by searching for Marriage Matters /WGIV so that you can stay abreast of topics, ask questions, or comment during our interactive segment of Marriage Matters. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.ittakes2marriagecoaching.com for more information on our services. All right, let's jump right into this discussion. There are 10 things that you want to avoid if you want to have a happy marriage. And again, last week we've already tackled 6 of them, those 6 being not communicating or shutting down, avoiding sex, seeing red over the green, allowing family and friends into your marriage, not fighting fair, and addictions. Today we're going to be talking about holding grudges, keeping secrets, not setting boundaries, and infidelity. So let's dig in and tackle these. Let's start with holding grudges. I want you guys to take a few seconds and sort of think about some questions I'm going to ask you. When is the last time that you harmed or pained someone that you love or care about? It could be intentional or unintentional. Okay, now that you have that in your head, I want you to think about how did you rectify the situation? Did you ask for forgiveness? Did you do an action that made up for the situation? I'm sure you wanted to be forgiven, correct? Did you want someone to have mercy on you? Holding grudges is the act of hanging on to intense anger or dislike for others based on a real or perceived wrongdoing. Grudges lead to contempt or erosion of trust in our marriages. However, the beautiful thing about making a mistake in your marriage or paining your spouse is the potential for strengthening your relationship through genuine apologies and genuine forgiveness. So here are some strategies for forgiveness and letting go of those grudges. Number 1, acknowledge the hurt, the pain, the dissatisfaction. So admit to yourself what it is that you're experiencing and you're feeling. You can do this through writing down in a journal if you keep a journal or a diary, or confiding in a trusted friend about your feelings. Number 2, speak to the offender. In this case, we're referring to marriage, so talk to your spouse about what it is that happened. Use I statements and explain to your spouse how the situation made you feel. Get the whole situation out on the table. Leave nothing uncovered. Number 3, release expectations of your spouse and the process. What I'm meaning by this is in forgiving, we have to learn how to let go of things or of how things should be or how we want things to be. This is not the same thing as excusing the behavior that your spouse did, but it's admitting and acknowledging that your spouse is not perfect and will make mistakes and will sometimes hurt you. It is a part of marriage. As you all know at this point, marriage is not a bed of roses. Every single day is not a fairy tale. Most days are not a fairy tale. You know, you're going to have those rough times. You're going to have those days where we're hurt and our spouse does things that lets us down. And that's okay because we're living for the wonderful days and those high days that make up for the lows. So that's what we're meaning by releasing those expectations of your spouse. Releasing them from being the perfect person and then realizing that they are human beings that make mistakes. Number 4, focus on forgiving your spouse. I'm at the point in my spiritual life where I often forgive people before they ever even apologize. This, of course, spills over into my marriage. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and say that 100% of the time I'm this way and 100% of the time I'm super forgiving and I forgive people before they even apologize, but I can honestly say that most of the time I do. This should be the goal for all of our relationships. I always say that the quality of your marriage is heavily weighted on your ability as a husband and a wife to forgive each other. Forgiving is a part of marriage, just like having sex, just like spending time, just like, communicating and having that open communication. just like all those things that are necessary in your marriage, forgiving is one of those things that is a necessity for marriage. So make a conscious decision to forgive and to stop holding grudges against your spouse. And lastly, for those very difficult pains to deal with, hold a letting go ceremony. I know it sounds kind of corny, but it can be really beneficial for your marriage. One of the activities that we include in our services at It Takes Two Marriage Coaching is that we do letting go ceremonies. This can look however you want it to look. So, for example, you could choose to write down the issues or the pains or the feelings associated around a circumstance on a piece of paper, and you could choose to burn that piece of paper or throw it away as a means of letting go or releasing that pain that you experience. You can also write them down on a balloon and then release the balloon into the air as another means of letting go of that pain and that situation. I'm going to leave you with this quote regarding holding grudges. It hurts us to hold grudges more than it hurts us to forgive. The anger that you hold inside damages you and nobody else. Don't be a prisoner to your own anger. Forgiveness is for you. So forgive your spouse for yourself. And in essence, you're forgiving your marriage and you're allowing your marriage to move forward. Now that we've finished up holding grudges, let's talk about keeping secrets. Of course, there are secrets and then there are secrets. One might not admit how many hours you spend playing online games or that you might spend walking around local outlet stores. And these may seem like innocent enough things that as long as they don't interfere with your spouse, there may not be any big deal that you've got to confess that to your spouse. However, a secret is a secret in a marriage when it directly affects or concerns your spouse, but is withheld from them. Obvious examples of these type secrets are secrets about abuse that was committed against you prior to or during your marriage. Secrets about finances, like huge debts that you have, or secret bank accounts, especially if they're used to pay for things that your spouse does not know about. I want to take a moment to thank all of you all that were willing to help us make this show interactive. We took an online poll this week on our Facebook page for Marriage Matters and our Facebook page for It Takes Two Marriage Coaching. And the poll was to find out how many of us are keeping secrets from our spouse. So here's what the poll revealed. Out of 56 of you who participated in this online poll, 26 of you all said at some point in your marriage you have kept a secret from your spouse. 17 of you all stated that you are currently still keeping secrets from your spouse. And 13 of you stated that you have never kept a secret from your spouse. These results are consistent with the research that shows that secrets are pretty common even in the most open marriages. I encourage you to explore the role of secrets in your marriage so that you may gain true insight about yourself and about your spouse. We're going to go into a short break, and after the break, we're going to continue our discussion on the last two things for you to avoid if you want to have a happy marriage. You're listening to Marriage Matters, and I'm your host, the Marriage Coach. You've tuned in to WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte.
I never knew such a day could come, and I never knew such a love could be inside of one. I never knew what my life was for, but now that you're here, I know for sure, babe.
I never knew till I looked in your eyes.
No, babe.
I wasn't complete till the day you walked into my life. And I never knew that my heart could feel so precious and pure. One love.
The days and years will roll by, but nothing will change the love inside you and I.
And baby, I'll never find any words that could explain just how much my heart, my life, my soul, you've changed. When no one else understands, can we tell God in the whole world I know you're my man? You're my man. Just how much I love you. One touch of my hand, oh baby, and I just spend my life with you.
No touch has ever felt so wonderful.
And no deeper love I've never known. I swear this love is true. Now and forever to you, only for you, to you. Feel your heart beating next to me. Every night, feel this way together till the end of all time. Can I just spend my life with you?
And I hope, baby, when you run to
No one else.
run to you. You're my woman.
You're my
I'm your man. Yes, I am.
how much I love you, baby. Can I just spend my life with you?
Spend my life, yes, I will.
Spend my life.
Forever here with you. Just spend my life with you.
Can I just see you every morning when I open my eyes?
Welcome back to WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte, and those streaming live through FreeTune radio app. You're tuning in to Marriage Matters, and I'm your host, the Marriage Coach. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. for tips and advice on all matters of marriage. Be sure to like us on Facebook by searching for Marriage Matters /WGIV so that you can stay abreast of topics, ask questions, or comments during our interactive segment of Marriage Matters. Also, check out our website at www.ittakes2marriagecoaching for more information on our services. If you're just tuning in, we've been discussing the 10 things you want to avoid to have a happy marriage. We were just recently discussing holding grudges and keeping secrets. Now we're going to wrap up with not setting boundaries and infidelity as the last 2 things to avoid in your marriage. Setting boundaries can be a scary area for couples to deal with. A lot think that boundaries, I like to think of boundaries as a framework or an alarm system that we set to protect the sacredness of our marriage. Boundaries actually grant us more freedoms because they're not meant to control us, but rather to be responsible so that couples know how to treat and to protect each other. It creates what I call a psychological boundary of security. For example, in my marriage, we have certain boundaries that protect myself and my husband. Boundaries such as a certain time that we have agreed that we're going to be home at night. Now, of course, there are times that those boundaries are not withheld, but it's during those times that we communicate about those, and it's an agreed upon breaking of the boundary, so to speak. We also have boundaries in terms of friends of the opposite sex. We agree to what we can and cannot do with those friends. We have boundaries on our finances. We discuss, how much is it okay to spend without consulting with the other person. For example, I'm not going to go purchase a vehicle without having that prior conversation with my husband. However, if I want to go to Belk's and spend $50 on a few items of clothing, we have an agreement in our relationship and a boundary in our relationship that $50 of that amount, that's something that we don't have to consult with before we actually spend it. But boundaries are a great thing to have. And if followed, they ensure that you and your spouse always present as a united front and always protect your most prized possession, which is your marriage. Lastly, and the one that we probably hear the most about, is infidelity. Now, next week, we're going to have an entire segment on infidelity. So we are not going to dig too deep into it today, but just kind of scratch the surface. There are many definitions of infidelity, but we will sum it up as a relationship that you have outside of your spouse that may include sexual activity, emotional connections, an exchange of money or goods, and quality time spent with someone that's not your spouse. During my sessions with couples, I always let them know that right or wrong, when we open the door for infidelity, it allows your spouse to question everything that occurred up till that point in your marriage. It truly opens the door for doubt, for fear, for mistrust. It affects people's self-esteem and self-worth and self-value because so many of us depend on our spouse for everything. Yes, it is called self-esteem, but your self-esteem is greatly influenced by the people around you and how people around you make you feel. And oftentimes when infidelity is infused or introduced into our marriages, we think, well, maybe I wasn't good enough. Or maybe it was me. Maybe it's something wrong with me, and that's the reason that they committed this act. Maybe I'm not attractive. Maybe I'm too fat or too skinny, or I don't have a lot of muscles, or I don't have a good enough job. So infidelity creates a lot of insecurities in marriages. So it's definitely something that you want to avoid and you want to keep out of your marriage. As stated earlier, we're really going to dig into this next week. But I just want to go over the 5 things that you can do to affair-proof your marriage, as much as possible, of course. Number 1, keep having sex. Sex is not the healer. It is not the end-all, be-all. I know that. But it is very necessary for a healthy relationship, a healthy marriage, and a connection. It is the gel, the glue that keeps the intimacy alive in your marriage. It's what keeps us connecting in a way that goes beyond conversation out of our mouths. It's that body language. It's that intimacy, that connection that we all yearn to have. So when things are great in your marriage, have sex. When things are poor in your marriage, have sex. Don't stop having sex. Number 2, guard your marriage. Don't allow time for foolishness to happen. In other words, don't put yourself in a situation where infidelity is more likely to happen. So if you might be, a little bit attracted to that coworker at work that sits across from you and he invites you out for lunch that day, if you think that could be a tempting situation, don't go. Don't put yourself in the situation. Guard your time, guard your space. Make sure that you're always considering your marriage in every decision that you make. Number 3, make meaningful connections. Now, I know I just harped a little bit on having sex, and yes, sex is huge and important in your relationship. But in the meaningful connections, I want you to also remember those non-sexual connections and how those are equally as important as those sexual connections. Have those date nights. Take long walks together. Make sure that you're talking with each other, that you're laughing. Share jokes together. Sit on your couch without the TV on, without your phones on, and just literally ask your spouse about their day. What your goals are for your marriage, what your goals are for yourself, goals that you may have for your kids, for example. But keep those meaningful connections, keep those conversations going. These are, all things that we're going to use to proof affair-proof our marriages. Number 4, no keeping secrets. And we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier. Secrets are dangerous for marriages. Anytime we get to the place where there's things that we are uncomfortable or afraid or embarrassed to share with our spouse, then they're probably things that we should not be engaging in. Confiding in someone of the opposite sex or someone that could potentially cause you to do something wrong in your marriage is the first step towards infidelity. Usually infidelity starts with an emotional affair. It starts with that you've got this secret that you keep it from your spouse, or there's something that you're not talking about with your spouse, but you're choosing it to share it over here with somebody else. So no keeping secrets. And number 5, have an open book life. So, and a lot of folks won't necessarily agree with me on this, but these are my tips for affair-proofing your marriage. Having that open book means that there is no hiding. So I say no passwords on the cell phones. Share passwords to your emails, to your social media accounts, to your calendars. You know, don't hide your cell phones. If you walk out the room, you don't have to take your cell phone with you. Leave it right there on the table where everybody is. You just don't want to give your spouse any reason to believe that you have something to hide. And when we keep an open book life, we have less chances that infidelity can creep in. Join us next week as we continue our conversation on infidelity. Next week, we're actually going to have a guest speaker on that's going to be sharing with us a little bit about infidelity in their marriage and how they overcame that, how their marriage has been strengthened by that infidelity. Thank you for tuning in today, and continue to tune in every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Please remember to connect with me by going to Facebook and searching for Marriage Matters /WGIV. Like our page, stay abreast topics, comment, and ask questions. Did you enjoy today's show? Awesome. If you did, make sure that you tell someone about it. Make sure that you tune in with us every Wednesday, 7:30. Show us some love on our Facebook page or via email at marriagematterswgiv@gmail.com. Also, if you're interested in being a guest on our show, or you want to advertise at a great low rate, call me at 704-449-6542. I'm your host, Patrice Bush, the Marriage Coach, and you've been listening to Marriage Matters on WDRB Media and WGIV, the Soul of Charlotte. It Takes Two Marriage Coaching, where we turn your marriage vows into marriage wow.